Hello, friends. I hope you're having a great day. Today, I want to talk about a few photos and share a few stories and photos that were captured with this setup. This is my Sony a7R4 and the 24 to 70 GM lens. This is kind of one of my go-to kits for capturing portraits. And here we're talking about how do we capture better portraits. And the reason this is go-to is because I feel like I can go anywhere in the world in any situation and I can capture something good and strong. So if this setup were a vehicle, it would be like a 4x4 truck. If it were a bike, it would be like a mountain bike. It's very capable, it's very rugged, it's very functional, and it can allow you to get the job done. And so often I'll carry that setup when I do commercial and editorial shoots, but also when I go into a situation where I just have no idea what it's going to be like. And that was the case with these three photographs here. In these photographs, these all came from this photography event that I was at, which I mentioned in a previous video. And it was the night before this conference. There was a social gathering, kind of a VIP event, a few hundred people. They rented out this restaurant, bar, club kind of thing. There was loud music and food and drinks, and it was really fun. But for me, it was also a little bit overwhelming. And one of the things that I know about myself is that it's really, really difficult for me to capture and create meaningful, soulful, interesting portraits in a situation where it's really loud and noisy and with a lot of bright lights. And knowing that about myself really shapes the way that I capture photographs. And knowing you and knowing yourself, becoming self-aware of what you prefer, what you like, what really kind of speaks to your soul is incredibly important, because it's from that place of awareness, it's from that awareness of your preference that your style really grows. I mean, I almost think of like your preference, it's almost like the acorn that turns into the big giant tree, right? And I love that famous quote by Robert Louis Stevenson that he wrote in the late 1800s. He said, "To know what you prefer, instead of humbly saying amen to what the world tells you you ought to prefer, is to keep your soul alive." And as artists and as creatives, we have to really explore how we can create from somewhere within. We can't just create because, wow, I'm at this event, there's bright and shiny lights. And there were amazing lights and even sets and stages and things you could shoot with. And it was all this great, wonderful, amazing stuff. And in a sense, the photography conference was saying, take advantage of this, shoot here, capture images in this way, and do so with all this loud noise and all this fun. But for me, that's not what I prefer. And so this isn't really about me, it's about you. But hopefully by telling a little bit of my journey, this can help you kind of navigate your own. So when I saw someone that I was interested in connecting with and capturing a portrait of, because I thought they had this kind of this elegance and this strength, I just said, hey, could I capture your portrait? And she said, oh, of course. And the first thing I did was walk to the doorway to this club restaurant place, so that she was standing in the doorway facing the natural light, because I love natural available light. And then next I said, hey, how about if we just walk over to this area where there are these tables. There was an outdoor seating area which wasn't being used because it was so crazy hot outside. Everyone was inside where the air conditioning was. But it was great because there was no one else there. And then in a moment like that, for me, I'm able to talk with the person I'm photographing, ask them questions, listen, and connect. In a loud situation, you kind of have to say, hey, tilt your head this way. Okay, move your arm that, and it's hard to create something that's meaningful, at least for me. But for other people, I think they love those environments. And let me tell you one little mini comparison. Let's step out of photography for a moment. Let's go to running. Some people love running in the gym on a treadmill. They go to that treadmill and they love it for specific reasons. They can run for a certain amount of time. They have a very even surface. It's kind of easier on the joints than it is running out on the pavement. And they can track their heart rate. They can track what zone they're in, all these things. And so it's a very controlled situation. And a lot of runners love running on treadmills. That's what they prefer. Other runners like going out on pavement. Other runners like going out on trails. Other runners like running really long distances across the desert. You get the idea. The whole point is that if you know what you prefer, you can often kind of drop into that moment and make the most of it. But if you just kind of do what someone says you should do, you're probably not going to create your best work. Now, the analogy falls apart a little bit with fitness and photography, but I hope you get this idea that what you need to do as a photographer is you need to ask yourself, well, what kind of environment do I really like to work in? Do I like the studio? Do I like going to the gym, so to speak, to run? Well, if you do, then make the most of that. Do I like being outside? That's what I like doing. I just like getting outdoors. I love sunshine. I love anything where I can just be out and moving. I like that there's uncertainty there. I like that you don't really know what's going to happen. Like, I didn't know if this little table area would have a good light or be decent for capturing a portrait. I had no clue, but I like that. I like how photo shoots kind of unfold in that way. Other people like to have it really planned and prepared and dialed in, so by the time they photograph someone, they know, like, I prefer having all of this sort of controlled and dialed in, and then boom, can capture that magical moment. And both are extremely valid and both are wonderful ways to create. So the point isn't that you need to follow the way that I shoot or someone else. You need to let go of what the quote world says, and you need to start thinking about, well, what do you prefer? And what do you prefer? What kind of portraits do you really like? What kind of environments do you like to shoot in? What kind of lenses do you like? What kind of light do you like? What kind of people do you like photographing? And for me, what I prefer is I like photographing people who have some kind of strength or wisdom or beauty or something that is, I don't know, something that is something that maybe is missing from my life. I like to photograph people that I feel like can be my teachers. And so I'm always searching for people who have that little extra something. And I love having the opportunity to connect and collaborate and capture something meaningful, and also gain some wisdom from who they are and how they approach life. All right. This is a little bit of a longer video, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below. And also let me know which photograph you like best, 1, 2, or 3.